Welcome to the show. My name is Mr. Adolf the teacher, and this is your four walls. It's great to have you within the four walls. So let's see what the show is all about this time around. So we'll begin with a green board, and on the green board is the classwork. The classwork is where we do almost a book review, but this time I'm simply going to advise you to just pick a book of your choice, read, then share on Facebook what the book is all about, the author, when it was published, and so on. So we'll be doing a preface to the topic, facilities for special needs, before we welcome the guests to the show, where we will discuss extensively the issues around facilities for the special needs. Don't mind the grading this time, but you definitely have your assignment before the show closes. So there is the latest thing happening in the education sector, and that is about the JAMB-WAEC clashes. So the latest news happening in the education sector right now is that on the 11th of April, that is from 9 a.m. in the morning, JAMB and WAEC will be having a serious problem. I don't know why this problem is going to be rising at this moment. Ever since, JAMB has always happened on Saturdays, but these days, due to the inclusion of CBT or whatever it is around computer and JAMB, it is accepted development, but it's now affecting the WAEC. Remember that these are two giant examinations in Nigeria, and WAEC also cover West Africa, but for JAMB, Nigeria. But then, parents and other stakeholders are complaining bitterly because they will be having some candidates who will be writing animal husbandry on the 11th of April. Same candidates would also have to write JAMB same day, same time. And that is a serious problem. Now we're calling on all the stakeholders to look into this issue. Is it going to be postponed? One of them have to be shifted, or in any case, the students must not fail, because these are very important examinations. If they happen to write just the WAEC and leave JAMB, that means they will wait for the next 1 year to write JAMB. And who knows, it might be worse by then. So that is the latest happening in the education sector. Don't go away. When we come back, we will be looking at different books that are popping up on the library this period. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Almost a book review. I decided not to pull out any book to have almost a book review with you. So I'm using this opportunity to advise you to increase our reading culture, one person at a time. By the time you start reading, you will also inspire someone beside you to start reading. And you know what reading does to the society? Enlightenment begins, and it will change the way we reason. So there are new books popping up on the scene. I have this special book that just popped up. I haven't read it, I just collected it, and that is the second part of the book written by former President of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, and that book is My Watch, Part 2. So I'm going to read the book sometime in the future. I'll be reviewing that book on this show. So, to the preface of the topic, facilities for special needs. Special needs, it's all around us, but sometimes we do not pay the needed attention to special needs. Children living with special needs education, and their form of education is, well, completely different from the conventional education system. Therefore, they need special facilities, and because of that, I do not understand how much these facilities would cost or what they may look like. So I decided to bring in an expert. She is the director and founder of Patrick's Speech and Languages Center, located in GRA Ikeja. So welcome to the show. Akonde Dotu.
Thank you.
I'm correct.
Yes, you are.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Let's begin with your center, which is Patrick's Speech and Languages Center.
Yes.
What is it all about?
Our center is a center specifically for individuals living with autism.
Oh.
We started in 2006 to support families that have children with autism. Autism wasn't common when we came into the scene, and we wanted to shed light into that
wasn't
disorder.
Common. Wasn't common means what it's not existing or it's existing and people are not completely aware of it?
It was existing, but people are not aware of it because it does not have a physical presentation.
Okay.
If you see the child, you wouldn't know anything is wrong. So a lot of people were confusing autism with mental disorder.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, explain autism. Explain a child with autism. Let's get a picture of such child.
Okay, a child with autism will be a boy or a girl. And from experience, we now know that there are more boys than girls living with autism.
Really?
Before you find a girl, you would have seen 4 boys. So it affects their...
Sorry, why is that so?
We don't know. We don't know why that is so. Some school of thoughts are thinking maybe when the child is growing in the womb, and if it's a girl and there's some form of distortion, the girls tend to abort themselves. But the boys usually stay through pregnancy. It's a school of thought. I'm not a doctor. So
not scientifically proven.
Not scientifically proven.
All right, continue.
Yes. So autism is a developmental disorder, and if it affects children, it starts from childhood. You cannot get to an adult stage to acquire autism. It starts from when the child is born, and it affects the area of social skills, communication, and behavior. Behavior, the child is behaving funny. Some of them, you find them flapping their hands or walking on their tippy toes, or sometimes covering their ears to loud sound. And then communication, some of them don't talk. The ones that talk will just be talking using, maybe they've watched a cartoon, they will use the voice of that character in the cartoon and be using it as a means of communicating to themselves. They don't communicate to others. Others that communicate to others usually would say a particular topic that they enjoy. For instance, you can meet a young adult with autism that will ask you, do you like cats? I like cats. Cats have 9 lives. Tell you all the attributes of cats, and then you're looking at him in a funny way, and he's not responding because he does not understand your facial expression.
Does this autism ever have a cure?
You can manage it.
It's not curable.
You can manage it. You can manage it to the point that the individual doesn't even, the person, the next person will not know that that person was ever on the spectrum. So you can manage it so well. Some of them end up having speech. They are able to control their, regulate themselves in certain environments. They are able to teach themselves how to manage sensory overload. That's when there's too much sound, too much light, or too many people in an environment that will get them agitated. They've learned coping skills on how to manage themselves, and then they can go on to live a full and functional life.
Full and functional life means being able to get employment.
Oh, yes.
Fix themselves in schools.
Yes.
Wow.
You have many, many great people that are
autistic.
Yes. Apple, the owner of Apple was Steve Jobs had some form of autism. You have some actors that have some form of autism. So typically autism can be classical. That is those that are heavily affected. It's what we call a spectrum. Some people on the very low functioning end and some on the high functioning end. The ones on the high functioning end are very intelligent. They have intellectual skills. And there are some that we call the autistic savants. Those are the ones that have splinter skills. They won't be able to read, they won't be able to write, but they are good at something. There's a guy, if you Google him, Stephen Wiltshire, you fly him over a city just once, and he will draw the landscape of that city for you. That's
a special gift, as most experts would explain.
Yes.
But sometimes they don't bring that name, autism, to picture. They would only say special gifts children.
Yeah, they said gifted. Gifted is different from autism savant. Autism savants, a lot of them sometimes can't even help themselves. They need attention 24/7. But they have that splinter skill that they can use. So somebody like Stephen Wiltshire is not talking. He's still not talking. He still has challenges dressing himself in the morning. He still has challenges doing some basic things that every typical individual his age would be able to do.
If those challenges are existing, perhaps they would also have some form of the dysfunctions with their body, physicalities?
No. If you see the person with autism, there is no physical presentation. It's all here. It's all neurodevelopmental.
Oh, okay.
It's all in the head. So typically what we say is that there's a disconnect.
All right.
Between the time I say, what is your name? And then you answer me, my name is. For a child with autism, it might take 2 hours between this time you say, what is your name? And the child is just staring at you. And then you say, what is your name? It's like, you know, when you are loading your program online and it's saying loading.
Okay.
And then you distort it. You know, it goes back and starts loading from the beginning again. So you've distorted it. So we always tell parents, give them time. Because some of the signs of autism, the child appears deaf. You call his name, he doesn't answer. He doesn't play with other children. He has an odd behavior. He has sometimes challenging behavior. No attention, sensory overload. So those are some of the signs that you see with children with autism. So you call the child's name and the child will not respond to you. That part of his brain that connects receiving the information and action, there's a gap.
Wow.
There's a delay. So between, and it's called processing. By the time it starts to process, the child starts to process that information. For some children, it takes a day. For some children, it takes 1 week. So you can imagine how difficult it is for parents to understand this disorder. It's very, very complicated.
All right. We'll take a short break. When we come back, you'll be taking us into your institute, Patrick Speech and Language Center. Please don't go away. This is getting more interesting. Welcome back. So we're still discussing special needs and their facilities. With me is Dotun Akonde. So you will be taking us right into your institute.
Yes.
Give us a picture of the institute.
Okay, our center is a day center. So the children come in at between 7:45 and 8 o'clock, and our services start from 9 a.m. So typically what happens is the parents will call us if they hear about us that I think my child has autism, and they will say, what do I do? So we would ask, does your child have a diagnosis? If they say no, we will refer you to a medical doctor to get your diagnosis. As soon as you get your diagnosis, we will now do what we call the skill assessment. Where is the child now? Once we have a diagnosis of autism, we'll look at what area the child's needs are, because some people are very gifted in speaking and they are not gifted in writing or reading. So you have to look at what the challenges of the child is before you start to work with that. So with that, when they come in with that report, we'll now go into a 5-day assessment period. So with that assessment, we will do an assessment in the area of speech and language development, behavioral modification, occupational therapy, which also includes sensory integration. We will do physical activities. We will also find out where the child is in terms of self-help skills. Can he help himself in a home environment? Is he oversensitive to a particular kind of food? So we find out quite a bit about that child. Okay. When that report comes out, we sit the parents down and then we have a meeting. At that meeting, we will now discuss our findings and find out from them that does it gel with what they feel their child has, and then we agree, and then we go ahead to start what we call the individualized educational plan. With that plan, we start to work with the child. Why that is very important is because when you've seen one child with autism, you've seen just that one child. The next child does not have the same challenges, does not have the same strength, does not have the same attributes with that other child.
Sort of, so you're working with the theory of
individualized.
Individualized.
Yes.
Do you have age limits for enrollment?
We don't. We usually tell parents that once you discover that your child has autism, let the child come to us. So we are a center that starts from the age of 2, and the oldest person in our center is about 40, 41. So you see, we have that
That's
range.
Much older adults.
Yes, because when we came into the field of autism in 2006, There were many, many families that were suffering, did not know what was happening to their child or to their children. And with the awareness that we started to create, we started to write in the papers, we started to talk about our work, we started to talk about our successes. One of the main successes that once we start early, we always say early intervention is important.
Okay.
The minute you start with the child early, the child can grow into mainstream school, live a full and functional life, and move on to do whatever he wants to do. One of our children is currently in Germany. He didn't talk till he was 5. He now speaks Dutch, he speaks German, and he speaks English.
Wow.
Wow.
But another wow is coming from most people who would ask the question, why did she decide to go into such career? What did you see? What did you find?
Okay. My son was diagnosed at 2.
Oh.
When at 2 years old, he wasn't talking, and I was taking him to the hospital. They kept telling me, oh, Mrs. Akoni, don't worry, he's a boy. Boys talk late. I said, there's something wrong with this child. The mother's intuition, don't ever wave it away. And when we started to look for help, we found a pediatrician that told me that your son has autism. So I said to her, what do I do? She said, there's nothing available in Nigeria. I said, wow. That means I'm stuck because I don't intend to leave this country. I'm staying, and he's not my only child. I have an older child, and I want to find a way to work with him here. So she said to me, I'll give you the number of a speech therapist, and then go to his school and tell them that when they've taught everything, they should take him out and teach him separately, one-on-one. And that's how we worked with my son. When he got to the age of 5+, his words started to come out. And then we introduced him to the playing of piano. Music is another beautiful thing that turns our children around.
Wow.
So he started to play the piano, and everything changed from then on. He's now in university studying mathematics.
Goodness me.
Yeah. So that's why I said to you, it can be managed.
Okay, let's look at other areas in the education system, because this is purely one angle of the education sector that people ignore a lot, especially the government. What do you think the government are doing now about special needs education generally?
Well, we can see that we have all been singing. Cerebral palsy is singing, Down syndrome is singing, autism is singing, these government schools are singing to the government to say
responses from the government.
The response is very slow. It's very, very, especially the federal government, is very, very slow. They are not equipping us. You can imagine when I came into the field and I decided, okay, I wanted to open a center. Who are the people that will work in a center? Who are the people that know about autism? I had to travel, learn the skills, bring it back, employ Nigerian hands here, and teach them the skills on how to work with these children.
You require special equipment for that?
You require special knowledge to teach children with autism. Special knowledge. You have to be patient. You have to be observant. You have to look at the strength. Look for the strength in the child. The child that is hyperactive cannot sit still, and then you are looking for strength. You know that is a total turnaround. Even the parents are struggling, finding strength in that child. What they find mostly is faults rather than find the strength. And you can't blame them. They are overwhelmed. This is my child whom I love, who I cherish, and then all of a sudden this thing comes over him. They are worried. So they cannot see strength in something that is
disturbing.
Yeah. So it's like having a gift and then you wrap it in old newspaper.
All right. You've been talking so much about the skills and ways of handling these children. How about the equipment? Are there special equipment for special needs? Oh,
the most important equipment is ICT. Once you can get your ICT compliance, then you can work with the children. So typically what we do is that we went outside. We didn't find any role model to hold on to say these are the people I want that will help me. So we had to go outside of the country to get help. So we connected ourselves with the Board of Credentialing in the US for them to certify us. So we will do our training online. We will take the activities that they use for the children in the area of speech therapy, in the area of patient, we put it on iPads and we teach it to the children. So you can imagine it is an expensive venture.
Wow.
Government needs to come in to support everybody doing special needs, not only us. We need the funds for capacity building. We need the funds for a facility, full and functional facility. Okay, what about our children that had late diagnosis, are we going to throw them away? We have to find something for them to do. So we look, they may not be able to go to school, so they have to have something functional that they do. And then you throw paints, you throw pencils, you throw pens at those children, and you find them drawing spectacular drawings, meaning that intact, their brain function is intact, but it's that same connection that we are still dealing with.
How far have you done? How far have you gone with parents who are refusing to come forward with children with autism and so on?
Well, we've done our best. There's something we do every quarter. We call the free consultation, free consultation for parents. So we bring in parents that cannot afford services, and then we train them on the skills that they can use in the home environment to support their children.
Oh,
so at the end of every quarter, we will do a follow-up with WhatsApp group. We put them all in a WhatsApp group in a cluster, and then we get the specialist to please give their time to train them. They will ask questions and we will respond.
You sound so positive. I'm sorry to say.
Oh no, it's if you come to that program, it's awesome. Even when we started out of the fact that people were coming to us to say, we can't afford services, we don't have money, or Mr. Konde, we want to come, but we don't have money. How do we do it? So we were thinking, what can we do to support this family? So that was what brought about that free consultation that we started to do. So when the results, we were shocked when a lady walked up to us to say, the lady's child did not have autism. She had cerebral palsy. But we went on air to say children with special needs. So everybody came. Autism came down. So we had to get occupational therapists to support her and physiotherapists to support her. And she said, I followed what you said to me one by one by one by one by one. See, my son is now walking. So I brought him today to show you that this is what has happened.
Do you ever get to an elastic limit in this career of yours?
Do you ever get there? You can't. You have to keep going. And the reason why is nobody knows why autism is around us. But what we know is it's growing. At the initial stage when we started 13 years ago, it was 1 in 110. Okay. Today, we are seeing 1 in 54, 1 in 32. So you can imagine, it's growing really fast.
So if someone like you doesn't have a child with autism, would you have ventured into it?
Never. I wouldn't even know what it is. I would be so ignorant of it. I wouldn't have. It's only natural for you to be aloof at what you don't know about what you don't know. Just stay aloof. Just stay outside of the box. That is why funding for us is very critical. To get people that understand our work to fund us is a lot of challenge. Because you know what is happening? A lot of people are even calling it rich man's disorder. And it's not.
Are you
honestly,
serious?
Because it's an expensive venture. Taking care of a child with autism is expensive.
That's so it's not vicious to call it rich.
It's rich man's disease. But they don't know that there was a man that had only keke marua. There was a man that brought his son. He didn't even have he couldn't even eat 3 square meals.
Wow.
When he brought that boy to us and we looked at the boy and we started to work with the boy, we told him to come every day. There was this particular day. He left that boy with us at the center. 3 days. We were all afraid. So we told one another, you take the boy home today. You tomorrow. You is your turn. No. Until the man showed up after how many days? He said he did not have money to come and pick the boy.
Wow.
So what would he do? He didn't have money. And immediately that boy cited his father. If you see the connection between both of them, it's amazing.
Wow.
That means the man did not on purpose leave that boy there. His resources were limited. Thank
you so much for your wonderful time. I'm so educated, and I know that you all have learned so much from her, because autism, I've been seeing autism as, well, people with special, because a renowned writer in Nigeria, Chimamanda, wrote in her Purple Hibiscus about a character, autistic and so on. Then,
really?
Yes,
Weird.
In Purple Hibiscus. Then the character never exhibited most of the things you said about the autistic patients and so on. Thank you so much for enlightening us.
Thank you for your time. It's always a pleasure.
So you go on Facebook, share this assignment with us. Should government control partially the special needs centers in Nigeria? Should government control partially special needs centers? That is talking about partnership with private individuals who have centers like that, funding them and helping out with facilities. So thank you so much for being part of this show. Until I come your way next time, God bless you. Bye.